So it's been over 6 weeks since the Parkland shooting. During that time, we've seen marches, town halls, and media spectacles, both great and small. Heroes and villains have been made, spokespersons anointed by cable news. But up until last Wednesday, one person didn't take part because he had been shot 5 times as he tried to protect his fellow classmates. Anthony Borges was released from the hospital, a teen no one had heard from until now. He saved upwards of 20 students. His attorney read a statement from him which criticized Sheriff Scott Israel and others for knowing that the shooter was bad news before the attack, but still did nothing.
Both of you failed us, students, teachers, and parents alike, on so many levels. I want to ask you today to please end your policy and agreement that you will not arrest people committing crimes in our school. I want all of us to move forward and end the environment that allows people like Nicholas Cruz to fall through the cracks. You knew he was a problem years ago and you did nothing.
Borges was too weak to talk, but his statement was strong. It reminded us of the facts as criticism took us back to what was revealed post-attack, that tons of calls were made about the shooter over the years, that he had emotional and disciplinary issues before coming to Stoneman Douglas. He was abusive. Still none took action. The statement also mentioned the Promise program, which allows young criminals to avoid arrest. So the question is, will this messenger receive the same platform and spotlight that others received? It's a sad reality in the world of cable news. We have to move on. Other tragedies await. But Anthony cannot move on, which is why we should press pause and listen to what he's trying to tell us. He cannot move on. The fact that Scott Israel can is a disgrace.
Terrible.
Yeah, Kimberly, we've heard very little from Scott Israel. The guy used to seek the spotlight, but now he's under a rock.
Yeah, because now the facts are raining down on him, and he cannot escape the truth. He tried to blame others. He demonized the NRA, Dana Lash. He blamed the people at the school. He blamed everybody except for accepting responsibility for choices that he could have made that would have prevented this. When you have authorities being called 30 different times to Cruz's house and nobody does anything, like, what else do you want someone to do in terms of getting involved and trying to do something to prevent future harm and violence and massacre? And if you don't learn from this situation, you just focus just on guns, you're missing the point. And for this individual to still have a job, the fact that he's not been suspended and removed from his position, to me, is just astonishing.
You know, Dana, his father also called out Israel for using his son right after the shooting as a photo opportunity, and apparently he gave his dad $100. There was just something very tacky
please keep your money
crass about this guy.
Absolutely. And it's amazing that it will be interesting once he's strong enough to talk, to hear from him about what kind of bravery it took for him to be able to stand in front of that gun and take the bullets for his students. And I'm sure that they're looking forward to him getting back to school. He's really a remarkable young man, very inspiring.
You know, Juan, he came from Venezuela for this. You know, I mean, the irony of leaving a place that is known for incredible high crime, and, you know, and he wanted to be a professional soccer player, which isn't going to happen.
I hope it does happen. I hope he recovers fully. What struck me from this, it was very touching, was I think this is something from the heart of American students. And he says, I just want to go to school and feel safe. And I don't feel safe right now going back to school, is what he said. And to me, that just struck me as, you know what, this is no spin. This is not taking sides. This is a young man saying, I think school should be safe and I should feel protected when I go to school. I do think it's about guns. I thought last week in the shooting at YouTube, you know, easy access to guns. But from his perspective, even if we never settle a gun argument in this country, kids should be able to feel safe in school. And he makes a strong, compelling point. By the way, the sheriff went to visit him at the hospital. So when you hear this from him, don't think, oh, this guy's just upset the sheriff hasn't paid attention. He's saying this despite that. Thank you for the visit, but you should have done more.
Yeah, exactly. And he felt that it was a photo op. Do you think, what should be done with Israel?
Well, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement...
The bad Israel, not the good Israel.
Yeah, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement has an open investigation, and they'll submit their findings to Governor Rick Scott, and he can determine whether or not to fire him or keep him, and that should be coming momentarily. There's a great ambush by a local reporter, I believe from ABC, that went and tracked Sheriff Israel down and got in his face pretty aggressively and said, you know, do you accept any responsibility? You know, what are you doing? You have to answer to some of this. And he weaseled out of it, and he didn't look like he was in control, Sheriff Israel. And then he fouled him, and he was at a political event later that day. You know, with all the stuff going on in his community, he's out there hobnobbing with politicians and, you know, raising money and politicking. He just has a lot of misplaced priorities, like the Promise program, got to get rid of it. Ideally, it's so you don't want to arrest a lot of young black teenagers in high school. That's why the Obama administration came in and pushed it hard, because, you know, it hurts their ability to get into college and things like that. I get that. But it can't be blanket. I mean, this guy, like you said in the monologue, was abusing students in school, was suspended, was violent. This is a guy that had to have been arrested, because then that would have triggered the inability to him purchasing a firearm. And then, you know, for CNN to shine a spotlight away from Israel and then towards the NRA does such a disservice to the country. And they should be shining a spotlight on things like what Rubio's doing. And you and I have talked about it. I think it's something like the gun purchase restraining order. So you're balancing the ability to have the Second Amendment with, at the same time, protecting public safety. If some guy looks like he's a mental nut, you know, you have a judge adjudicate it, and then you take the gun away.
But, you know, the judges and the social service people also didn't.
They blew it too.
Oh,
right,
okay.
Juan.
But because I don't think it, you know, I understand that you guys are so upset with Israel, but I'm just telling you that there are lots of people who had the opportunity to act on Mr. Cruz and didn't act.
You're right. True. The FBI, the locals, and what did Israel do? He set up a perimeter outside the school when the shooting was going on, and everything tells you go in and you confront the shooter.
Well, that wasn't Israel.
All right,
well, and it was his deputies.
Right.
Just so you know, there is a GoFundMe page, and a lot of those, you got to check them out to make sure they're real for his financial support for the family, and it's already raised $800,000. It's a legit GoFundMe page if you want to check it out. Thanks.
He would use his body as a human shield to save 20 lives. God bless him.